I want to welcome all the participants and attendees of this second arbitral forum supported by Rudaw Media Network and other think tank centers. And this panel, we will talk about Syria after the fall of Assad and about the security situation across the region. And those panelists, dear panelists, I don't want to again, and I want to start with Mr. Jauad Alani, the former Vice or Deputy Prime Minister of Jordan and Foreign Minister. I want to ask, start with a question. I want to ask, with the new changes in Syria and the major changes, it will have an effect across the region, especially a country like Jordan and other neighboring countries. How you see in Jordan in new Syria after the Assad? Thank you very much for this question. I want to, if you allow me, thank all the panelists and organizers of this forum, because this is the first time I visit Iraqi Kurdistan. The second point is all the happy faces, the beautiful faces I've seen today. I'm very happy with this forum regarding this question. I want to say, Jordan has a lot of calculation for this situation during Assad era, especially. But now the calculation is less for Jordan, as you see the current situation in Syria. We don't know what happened, and we don't know who was behind those events. And you cannot say in this situation, you cannot look at the neighbors with a suspicious or you cannot do anything about. That's why Syria, before this change, Syria, as we saw as a threat for our northern borders. That's why during the Assad era, there was a lot of drug trafficking in those areas. Second point is there was a lot of people who were refugees, fled Syria and were living in Jordan. Those they were doing crimes and illegal work. They were terror threats against Jordanian security, and this is caused instability in Jordan. And it made us to look at Syria as a suspicious neighbor, and we found out that the international criminal network were working inside Syria, and they were drug trafficking. They were drug trafficking inside Jordan, and they used Jordan as transit for other countries. They used Jordan as transit. And there was a cheap drug, and they made it, and normal people could buy it, and that's why, because it was cheap, a lot of people were bought it or were interested to buy. But now, less than 10%. Only 10% is left. But now, during the Assad era, I told Syrian official on TV that I told him we need some support. We cannot do it alone. Jordan take serious steps. In general, opinion of Jordan is we respect the integrity of our neighboring countries, but still the drug trafficking still happens, and there's new ways of the trafficking. And the thing they call the international criminal network, and they have new ways and special ways, new technology and modern ways of trafficking. They even use drones to drug trafficking and new weapons and modern weapons. Uh, 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 and all the and we have a lot of experience. But Ordon likes to see. It's very happy for Jordan. Jordan wants to respect the neighboring countries, have a normal relation with the neighbors, and have a stability across the region. But still, as the English say, they are getting ready for the worst case scenario. We will continue our next guest, Mr. Cengiz Çandar, the MP, Turkish MP in DEM Party. Welcome, Mr. Member of Parliament. As we knew, you will be a guest to our panel. I went back to one of the chapters, the Mesopotamia training. After the changes in Syria, wanted to made a change with the Syrian government. And you talked about in your book, and there's some people who say after a century of conflict, all the cakes of Syria now on the plate of Turkey. Now Turkey is the side, is the key to have Syrian solution and development in Syria. If this opinion, this view, is this true? Is Turkey can have all the keys of Syria's solution? And what Turkey will do after New Syria?
بلاي لغة تركي ولا إنجليزي؟ إنجليزي. مرحبا أهلا بكم سرسران سرچواناتن. The organizers asked me not to speak in my native language, Turkish, but in English. I would prefer to speak in Turkish, but nevertheless, let me try with my poor English. I hope the translators will be understanding and translating them accurately. So, before responding to the question, we are on the eve of very dramatic developments in the region, the Middle East, brought by the brutal war on Gaza, which devastated a whole area of where Palestinian people were settled. And even we have an American president speaking of pushing the indigenous population of Gaza out, to colonize it, to turn it into a Middle Eastern Riviera. And it seems Israel is not very much annoyed by this possibility. And the second big change that was brought to the region, of course, the collapse of the Syrian regime. It's so important, that collapse, because that regime survived more than 60 years, more than half a century. And it created such a new situation. And until this developments in Gaza and with the regime change or the collapse of the regime in Syria, the Turkish decision makers used to boast, saying that Turkey is such an important regional power, it has become so, that no bird can fly over the skies of the Middle East without the knowledge or consent of Turkey. So it was kind of a self-confidence projected to domestic politics also. We are a strong country, inheritor of the Ottoman Empire, now calling the shots in the region, in the Middle East. So when the regime change in Syria happened, from a Arab Sunni faction which started to march from Idlib, the province of Syria, which was under military control of Turkey for 7 years. Turkey saw it, its proxies, protégés, to put in a more gentle way, its protégés are marching over Damascus and change the regime and replace it. So as the question has come, Syria has become Turkey's. As in the days of Sultan Selim al-Awwal, in the 16th century, Syria had become, Bilad al-Sham, had become of Ottoman Empire. Now, Syria is for Turkey, because Hayat Tahrir Sham was sponsored by Turkey, was protected by Turkey, initiated by Turkey, and now they are in the throne in Damascus. So can we come to the conclusion that, as we remember, Turkey was already boasting Syria is, Turkey is the main regional power, and look what has happened in Syria, and the leaders of Syria, Turkey, was repeatedly saying that Turkey proved to be on the right side of the history. Look what happened in Syria. So we were right to support Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. Then we can come to the conclusion, yes, Syria is for Turkey, Turkey controls Syria. But when I am asked whether this is true, I would contest. I would say, let us not be so sure of what has happened. Because one important thing regarding the situation in this region of the Middle East and about its future, it is chaos and uncertainty. The Middle East is in such a situation that never in its history, in its history always it was in turbulence and turmoil, but never in its history, in the recent history, the future of the Middle East and the present situation has been so uncertain. We can't make any forecast. It is so chaotic. So if we believe that Syria is controlled by Turkey, Syria has been for Turkey, then we can be sure that the region is stabilized. There's a regional power called Turkey controlling Syria after what has happened. Then it's fine. Everything is under control. But everything is not under control because of a simple reason. There is a new element in Syria which Turkey until now did not reconcile itself with. The Kurdish area in Syria. Syrian democratic forces, whose backbone is Kurdish, controls nearly 1/3 of the Syrian territory. They represent the most trained military force on the territory of Syria now. And they don't reconcile themselves to go to Damascus, bow in front of Mr. Ahmed al-Shara, saying that here is our weapons, we are throwing out our uniforms, come, you can govern Haseke, Kamishli, Raqqa, Deir ez-Zor, wherever you want to. It's yours. They don't say this. They speak of Kurdish rights to be recognized in a new Syria, with a new national accord within the framework of Syria. But the new Syria has not to be the repetition of the former Syria of the Ba'ath or the Assad family. So the position of Turkey, who is staunchly supporting Hayat Tahrir Sham and trying to legitimize Hayat Tahrir Sham concerning its full control over every single territory of Syria and the position of Syrian democratic forces.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I would like to ask you a question about this subject. You said you have commitments, and I would like to utilize the time we have so that we can ask the important questions. What you talked about, the SDF and the situation in northeast Syria has always been red lines for Turkey. What's new is the recent initiative regarding Mr. Öcalan and the negotiations going on in Turkey about this initiative. How is this initiative for peace going to affect the position of Turkey regarding the SDF and Kurdish issue in Syria? Is this going to affect positively or negatively on the relations between Kurd and Turkey? Is this initiative going to make Turkey more flexible towards the SDF? Or is it going to prevent SDF to be closer to Damascus?
It's a big question. All of us in Turkey, we wait the answer. We don't have the answer yet to this question. But most probably in a couple of days, either tomorrow, after tomorrow, in 3 days at most probably I say, Öcalan would make a call asking his organization, the PKK, to terminate the arms struggle in Turkey, to leave the arms and disband the organization. As President Nechirvan Barzani spoke earlier today, that it will take time, of course. We can think that in a week everything will be, we will be in a paradise in the region. It will, all these things take time, and hopefully, I say, emphasizing the word hopefully, if it works, then it will have an impact on Syria also, very much so, because SDF mainly functioning under the influence of Öcalan and his followers. So if there will be this peaceful initiative bears fruit in Turkey, that means in Syria, SDF and Turkey, through Öcalan, will come to a kind of a compromise. Then, what we have to see is Turkey will withdraw its anti-SDF position as it used to be, and will not be pushing SDF and the Kurds to the arms of Ahmed al-Shara, but looking for a new Syria as it had happened here in Iraq. I will make a quotation and finish. It will be interesting for you. Turkey's Syria position against the Kurdish self-rule. I'm not saying autonomy or federation or anything. I'm saying Kurdish self-rule. The Turkish official position being against a Kurdish self-rule in northeastern Syria is not new. It was spoken many times after the Syrian civil war by its leaders. Mr. Erdogan, even before he became president, in the year, and many times while he was a president, in the year 2014, in August, speaking to the Turkish journalists, he said, I have it in print, but more or less I will convey you the translation of what he said. Talking to the journalists on the way from a foreign trip, he said, we, Turkey, cannot permit what happened in northern Iraq to happen in northern Syria. What happened in northern Iraq? Kurdistan regional government happened in northern Iraq. He doesn't pronounce the word Kurdistan. He says what happened in northern Iraq cannot be permitted to happen in northern Syria. It will be difficult for us, for Turkey, he says, to prevent what has happened there, to prevent it. But for strategic reasons, for future, although it will be painful for us to stop it, we will do everything in order to prevent emergence of a northern Syria. This is the wording, he says. Emergence of northern Syria like northern Iraq. So, this means Turkey will not permit a Kurdish self-rule in northern Syria, whatever the cost would become. Now we are at that stage. It happened. Whether Turkey will prevent it or not, it can prevent it by military force, of course. Why it cannot? Because of the American presence there. But if Trump's America makes a deal with Turkey or withdraws, then we don't know how the things will develop. But now, since the question was about Öcalan's call and the disarmament and the peace prospects, maybe without waiting how Trump will act, whether it will withdraw or not, if this new peace initiative bears fruit in Turkey, as we all hope, then it will reflect on the situation in Syria. Turkey will be more inclusive, not only sponsor Hayat Tahrir Sham or Sunni Salafi groups, but every single different component of Syria, above all the Kurds itself, then that will be the best solution. Is it possible? Yes, it is possible. It is, but still let us be prudent, wait for Öcalan's call and wait how the things will develop, because in this region, when it comes to Kurdish issue, you never know whether the things get out of the road or move to its...
We liked very much for you to stay for us with us, but unfortunately your time doesn't permit that. Thank you very much for your information.
Is the sounds good? This should is saying that Iran is the most damaged by the recent changes in Syria, and is due to the long time strategic relationship with the Assad family, the father and the son. But the recent changes, how Iran is planning to reorganize its relationship with Iran, the current Syrian authority. If there's a Persian translation, I would like to talk in Persian. But yes. My Persian is much better than my English. I want like to thank.
If there is any Farsi translation and everybody has the device, I would like to, and I prefer to speak in Farsi. Do you have all the devices? Pardon? But my Farsi is better than my English. So I just followed and I noticed that many of you don't have the device for translation. So English is better, huh? Okay. So thank you very much. I would like to thank the host for inviting me and being here. This is a very timely gathering, and I'm more than happy to share with you a few points here. What you asked about the dynamism right now in Syria could be seen from different angles. Of course, there are challenges that we see right now in Syria, including what our Turkish absent colleague shared with us here, that the tone that Turkey has won Syria is a little bit strange for me, because I doubt if any Arab country can be conquered by any other country. This is my idea, and I think that the people of Syria deserve to have a very national, inclusive government. What is important for Iran is this notion of independence, is this unity of the country, this inclusive government. If we look from what happened in Syria, there are different issues that we can talk about. Definitely HTS right now is in power. But, and maybe as our Turkish colleague shared with us, there are excitement in Ankara about that. But the fact is that who is HTS? Are they recognized by all countries, or there are some former extremist jihadists plus some foreign fighters, Uyghurs and others that we know that they were among the HTS? More than that, we are hearing very good words from Ahmed Ashar, but what we expect to see is more of action accordance to what have been said. It seems that there is a protocol of what he has to say, but more than that is this inclusiveness. Our Jordanian colleague here talked about the situation in the south. The security situation right now in Syria is very fragile. Tehran is looking for a unified country, a country which has an inclusive government. All the ethnic groups and ethnicities can have the voice inside, the right of minorities being respected. There are issues of concerns that we do have, but at the same time we are cautiously following and cautiously optimistic that hopefully we can see a more stable and inclusive government. The exact issues that we have to discuss today is the challenges ahead of Syria. What we are seeing for the future of Syria, especially from the Israelis' future strategy, as we see in Syria, is very dangerous and is very frightening. What we are seeing from Israelis' action in Syria right now is this fragmentation of the Syrian society. It's following ethnic division of the country, talking to the Druze, talking to other minorities, and trying to make this division is some sort of matter of concern for us. More than that, foreign occupation. Now, the old occupier are there. We have new occupier, which is Israel. Israel is sitting just 20 kilometers away from Damascus. Can you imagine that? And this occupation is just not the future of Syria. They are not there to go away with all these equipments and 4,000 soldiers that they have deployed there. They are going to stay there. So the future of Syria, we are not hearing anything from Ahmed Ashar regarding this occupation. And this is not about just the future of the occupation. It is the future of Syria. Can you imagine any country go and invest 20 kilometers away from the Israeli that has no boundary to bomb anywhere, anything, anytime? So the future of the Syrian people is under scrutiny right now, and it is a matter of, these days are gone. These days soon, this honeymoon will go away very soon. So everybody should support an inclusive government in which the foreign occupation ends soon. With what we are seeing right now in Syria, we think that we need to convey more of messages that this occupation will not let a Syrian stable and peace. And of course, this is a matter of concern for us. But more than that, we have to think about what is happening attached to Syria, which is in Palestine. Now, the previous panel and this panel, we talked about forced displacement of the Palestinians. Let's call it, and be honest with ourselves and be frank with ourselves, that there is a tendency of second Nakba 2.0, undergoing right now. There is a policy of annexation of West Bank to Israel. I have to be more diplomatic to say that everybody, including Arab countries, Iran, Turkey, should be aware that there is a hegemonic tendency right now in Israel vis-a-vis the region. It seems that, quote unquote, Netanyahu is not pursuing peace through settlement of the issue with Palestinians, but to make it impossible for Palestinians to return to their home. So this is the way that they want to have it. So the future of the region is going to be a different region if we do not join each other to make a better region for everybody, including our neighbors. What Iran's position is, we cautiously support, we cautiously follow, and we're trying to communicate with Iraq, with Turkey, with all countries that they have independent voices in the region to make an inclusive arrangement for the future of the region. Do not forget that there are efforts in Saudi Arabia, in Riyadh, in some other Arab countries in the Persian Gulf that they are trying to also have some sort of arrangements. We are waiting to see if there are ample opportunities and good principle for future. Tehran would be more than happy to join for the future of the region. Thank you.
I want to go to Mr. Chang Chin in the Tsinghua University in Beijing. Chinese foreign policy, it's known is to go away from direct interventions and the conflicts that occurs in the Middle East, and there's a lot of conflicts in this region, and the diplomatic role China has had had an agreement between Saudi and Iran, supervised the agreement and the normalization of relations between Iran and Saudi, and now China, how they react to the current changes that occur in the region, and how they react to the earthquake that happened in Syria, maybe had an effect in the Middle East, but wider region as well.
Okay. First of all, thank you very much, Mr. Omar. And also, I would like to first deliver my appreciation and congratulations to Rudaw Research Center for making this gathering possible. And we know that actually the Rudaw Corporation has made great contribution for the understanding between China and the Middle East in the last few years. They have this Beijing office and to cover the news in China. And also they now have this long-term seat in the media groups in China's foreign ministry. So I think the Rudaw Corporation is not just making contributions to the relations between China and Iraq, but also between the Kurdish people and the Chinese people. So this is something I would like to say first. And return to the question what the moderator just asked. I think nowadays, I think in China we are using this term that is the change unseen in 100 years, which I think there has been so many kind of great changes and great uncertainties that our colleagues just mentioned. And also, I think in the West, they also have this kind of anxiety. They're trying to find the right words to describe the current situation in different regions, in particular in the Middle East and also in other parts of the world. They use this post-Cold War, right? So this is the word that shows the lack of the right wording to describe the situation for now. But I'd like to start with some personal observation regarding the great power relations and also with its impact on the region as well. So I think that nowadays the hegemonic aspirations shown by the extra-regional powers is at the historically low point. I mean, all these kind of great powers outside the region, they has less hegemonic designs for this region nowadays compared to history. So I think this is create both challenges and opportunities for the regional powers to behave. So, for example, I think for the United States, I think Donald Trump, President Trump, he himself has few interest in the region, himself. I think maybe compared to all the presidents since the World War II, he and maybe President Reagan, like these two presidents has no like enthusiasm on themselves regarding the situations, what happens really in the region, in the Middle East. And also we can see some kind of like a retreat or retrenchment about the Russians' interest or assets in the region. And China, for China, I think this is for obvious reasons that we have adopting this non-interference policy for many decades. And also for all other great powers like UK and France, they all have like less and less like a hegemonic design for the region. So as I mentioned, so this is creating like the opportunity and some challenges for the regional like powers to cope with the new situations. So I think that for sure there's a lot of people will argue that without the hegemonic power from the outside the region, there will be some kind of like a vacuums, there will be some kind of like problems, there will be more instabilities in the region. But I think that maybe without this kind of like a great interference from the outside in the near future, I think maybe the regional powers should try to find a better ways to work with each other and try to create a better like a neighborhood with each other. I think this creates actual opportunity because in the previous times, as we can see during the Cold War era, some countries with this kind of like protections from the great powers, from their patrons, they can behave with like a less risk, trying to gamble and get more kind of like benefits. But nowadays, without this interference from these great powers or hegemonic design of these powers, maybe all the regional powers or the regional countries should behave more cautiously. And one field of experiment could be Syria. That how these regional powers could try to like cooperate and try to facilitate a more inclusive government in Syria, the new Syrian government in Damascus. I think this is very important and may decide the fate of the region for like many days to come. And regarding the China's policy or China's attitude towards the new Syria, I think it is quite simple because I don't want to repeat those rhetorics of the Chinese like diplomats or the governmental officials, but I think there's probably only one red line between the new Syrian government and China. That is that we know that there has been some jihadists, there has been some fighters, members of the radical militant groups. They used to be Chinese national, and now they were residing in Syria. And with the fall of the Assad regime, they're now making this kind of like a threats that they are going to creating like a bloodsheds in China, and also they are threatening to attack the Chinese assets in overseas, in particular in the Middle East, and also to trying to attack Chinese projects or Chinese build infrastructures or Chinese business all over the region. So if it stays in this kind of like a rhetorics, that's one thing. But if it kind of like put it into practice and the Syrian government provides some kind of like a haven for these activities, I think that will be huge problems for China's attitude towards this issue. But if there's a one way that with all these like regional powers, with the help of like China's like engagements, that we can find some proper solutions for this issue, I think China will more than happy to get involved into the reconstruction and trying to facilitate better governance in Syria.
Some of those are injured and they are disabled, and there's right now there's a view that Damascus is pushing away Kurds. Do you think how will it turn out, and how will it affect the new Syrian views? The solution in Urdun, we think the best solution for Syria is the came in the had outlined in the party statements. It was a general statement and talked about they wanted that all the sides to be involved in this process. And it had outlined 18 points and didn't forget or mention all the sides. But regarding the Kurds' role or who are concerns, they were not invited, and they don't know why they were not invited. And that's because of the unorganized or unplanned of the organization, or there was other. Maybe you know more. But if this was planned and they were not invited, what do you say? As we say, Ahmed Sharia is right now is in Jordan, visiting Jordan, and I think one of the messages that he will receive is this message that Jordanian interest is to have a stable Syria, a security who can manage its affairs, and we are against any invasion. We are against any invasion of any land by Israel. We know they have controlled some of the land part, and so far they are not talking about it. And the reasons they believe that those sides who support them, like maybe Trump administrations or European countries, or the country that is, or or U.S. or European country to support it, they think that they believe that they cannot do anything that make U.S. or Western countries angry. Another point is that important point is that Syria, the current Syria, the current new administrations, and we hear from the Turkish side is there's a lot of threats that not all of the countries under control of the new authorities. Maybe, for example, like Latakia province. Sorry to cut off your speech. I just want to change the environment of the forum because I see people maybe a bit sleepy. You talked about, and we want to talk about, there's Alawites as well who feel they are being pushed out in the new Syria. And there's talked about instability among the Alawites and Iran. I think the Iranian reaction is important, or how they see the Alawites' role in Syria.
Thank you very much. This is an important issue. Minorities have been always an issue in Syria, and they're going to be an issue in Syria. Alawites are among those minorities, and also these holy places in Syria, which are kind of related to both Shiites and Alawites. But sorry, I think more than that is that nobody should be neglected and nobody should be marginalized out of this. This is not just about Alawites. It is about the Sunni majority of Syria, which they are not kind of included in this. It is even more than that. You see a very peaceful opposition inside and outside Syria. They don't have also a voice. When this interim government, as it's called, was formed, many of these groups were absent. Even those armed groups were absent. I don't know, around 28 to 50 armed groups, they have been named in Syria, out of which just 15 or 16 participated. So it seems that now we do have a minority HTS with the active policy of legitimizing that, which there is no problem for that. The problem is that if we give them this hint that you can govern such a diverse, such a ethnically, religiously, and culturally diverse society. As I see from Tehran, the will of people will be fully respected. And I think that the sooner we can help the government in Syria to be inclusive, the better, not only for Syria, but also for the region. And don't forget about that. A spillover to other countries, plus a security fragmentation of the country is very much plausible. So we have to rush into helping them to avoid this new catastrophe in Syria.
Okay, so I think that there's some kind of like a conflicting signals has been sent by the new government in Syria. There's different directions. The signals has been sent in different kind of like directions. So some of them were very peaceful, so very cooperative, welcoming like the Chinese participation in the reconstruction process of the Syrian post-Assad scenario. But at the same time, there's some kind of like appointment about some militant groups, used to be Chinese national, into the high ranking of the new Syrian army. So for now, I think that it is very difficult to say that how well the relations will actually be. I think in China, you use these terms that kind of like you need to watch a step before you actually take one, step by step. I hope that this could be solved properly. And for the latest development is that Ahmed Shara received Chinese ambassador to Syria in Damascus. So from my personal guess is that China is now taking this trust but verifying approach towards this issue before actually whether it should fully restore the relations with Damascus. Yes.
If there is more time, if you could get a few questions from the attendees. I have 3 questions. It's possible Dr. Jawad's answers will be short. My first question is Jordan's vision for Syrian solution is what? And do you think that the national dialogue is a good thing for the solution? And the second is the Arab countries, is how their reaction or assessment in solving the Syrian issue, and is there cooperation with the current Syrian authorities, or do you believe there's an agreement? All the different sects in Syria should be involved. Let me tell you clearly, 2010, 2015, 2016, when we talked about the Sykes-Picot agreement and the division of the Arab countries, and based on national ethnic lines. But I don't think the West, even the West, don't believe those lines. I want to go back to as one country, but federal system within the country. I think that's the best possible. Jordan and Syria wants to everyone be involved in the solutions. Jordan doesn't have any problem with any ethnics or to be involved in participating in the government. And most of the Arab countries with the minority issues to be solved peacefully. They don't want to be another Arab Spring in the region. Quite the opposite. Jordan wants to have all the minorities to have a participant in the government and be free what they want and how they practice their religion and their sects. Another question. If there's another question for another case, so the view should be different. My question is for Saeed Khatibzadeh, who is the representative of the Iranian government. The pushback of Iran in Syria, as we know that Iran, Syria, and Arab countries have a lot of interest in Iraq and Syria, and they have intervention in Syria. Diplomatically we cannot say intervention, but we could say they have a role. But why Iran pulled back, withdrew after the fall of Assad? Did they only supported Assad regime or they supported the Syrian people? So I just want to know why this withdrawal. If this same thing happened in Iraq, will they pull out of Iraq as well?
It's a very, very, very frank and at the same time very right question and deserve a right answer. We are here because all of us have some idea about the political science, international relations, and we do know the literature very well. So I don't want to go and get into this, analytical aspect of any issue that we are dealing with. But you know that any question should be contextualized. It means that if you decontextualize a fact from the moment that it has happened, so it might not reach to a point that is expected. Why I am telling you this? Because we are talking about a Syria which had a settled political structure, the government, an inclusive government, or whatever, a government recognized by the international community. When Iran was invited to go and help the government, there was a government there. Later on, the exact reason that Iran helped the Kurdish Peshmerga and Kurdish people, Imam Jalal and the others, here, was exactly because of what happened in Syria, Daesh, ISIS. So the context of Iran helping, believe it or not, Iran was pillar. Iran was the main force behind defeating ISIS and Daesh in this region. So what Iran did was in favor of the nations of this region. Why? Because from the beginning, the main question was that what is the post-Assad situation look like? Even in 2011, even in 2013, when Daesh and ISIS started their operation and aggression, even some of these extremist jihadist groups that were very much not nationalistic. They were not Syrian fighters. They were extra national and extra regional fighters. Still they are there. And this is a big challenge. So for Iran, what was important was to making sure that what is coming out of this will not pose any threat to the whole region and is not going to enforce the hegemony and the wishful thinking of the Israelis that always they have been trying to formulate, their hegemony inside that region. So what did Iran did? What did Iran do? Was exactly based on this consistent policy of helping those who needs help against those who are trying to enforce their motives. Now again, Iran is very much up to stability and peace in Syria. We don't have any wish except to have an inclusive, even semi-inclusive government in Syria that can guarantee the rights of minorities, the right of the people. And believe me, we have witnessed fall of the political structure in Afghanistan. Iran is neighboring Afghanistan and Iraq both. People here, they have witnessed the fall of political structure. When one of the biggest army of the whole Arab countries, I mean the Syrian army, is vanishing, what is happening? Just think about that. Where is Syrian army? So is it in favor of the people of the Syrian nation? This is something that we have all together to help, and I think that Iran is ready to help, and we are standing behind any genuine attempt to form an inclusive government.
The last question we would like to be short. I'll speak English because in Iraqi constitution it's official language. Dr. Jang, you are very happy. You are a strong country in terms of technology and trade. Is the biggest threat to U.S. and Mr. Jauad. Very happy you are here. Dr. Khatib, welcome. You are representative of Turkey, Iran, Syria. You are here. From your side, the oldest country ethnic, you all live in the land of Kurdistan, and you build a country, and but you reject Kurdish rights. Why in Syria cannot be spoken in Kurdish language? What will happen to Kurdish issue in Syria? Please, Mr. Khatibzadeh. We are relative with Persian people. There should be an opening with Kurdish Iran. Through Iranian parliament, I see a lot of people who ask for Iranian, for Kurdish rights. Now there's a bit of opening. I want to ask the question: Why you see Kurd as a threat in Syria, Turkey, and Iran?
Thank you very much. It's a very important. I deserve to speak in Farsi, okay? Because you speak in very beautiful Kurdish language, So I don't know if I speak Farsi, you understand or not. So I speak in both language very, very quickly and بالاختصار. کردستان برای ایران یک موضوع طبیعیه. ما در یک استان داریم به نام کردستان با اسم کردستان. ما به کردها نمیگیم ترکای مثلا کوهستانی یا ایرانی های کوهستانی. ما در داخل تهران یک بزرگراه بسیار بزرگ داریم به اسم کردستان. در قانون اساسی ایران حق آموزش به زبان مادری به رسمیت شناخته شده. رئیس جمهور ایران کرده، یک کرده، جناب آقای دکتر پزشکیان. کردی برای ما موضوعی نیست. کردی برای ما زندگی طبیعیه. اگر امروز شما در ایران تشریف بیارید، کردها موضوع حتی اقلیت نیست. بسیاری از ایرانی ها معتقدند دین آبا و اجدادی ایرانیان یعنی زرتشتی ها از مناطقی شروع شده که بین آذربایجان و کردستان امروزیه. لذا برای ما کردستان اصلا موضوعی نیست. So let me just translate it into English or say a few words in English. For Iran, Kurdish issue is not an issue since it is integrated into society. We have a province with the name of Kurdistan. We have a highway in Tehran with the name of Kurdistan. We do have a president who is Kurd, who speaks Kurdish better than, as President Nishervan Barzani said, speak Kurdish better than even in accent Farsi. So for us, Kurdish is not an issue. We hope that all countries in this region respect this cultural division and this ethnic division in all countries.
Thank you for all the guests, the panelists. Thank you very much for participating in this important panel. Thank you very much. Thank you for your attendance. When I talk, when I use Persian language, there's another point that I want to see today. Which it's our session or meeting. Persian language has a lot of Arabic words in it. The biggest thing is the Iranian president's Kurdish.